Hello. You've reached the Smithsonian Institution's Human Resource Department.
Record your message at the tone.
Hi, my name is Aloysius Martin. I'm researching a location called the Myrtles Plantation. So many of my sources claim that the Smithsonian Institution has declared this one of the most haunted locations on the earth. I would love to talk with you and find out if the Smithsonian Institution has or is declaring locations haunted. If you could please give me a call back. This is actually a serious call. I really do need this cleared up. Hello, I'm Aloysius. I'm the owner of Haunted Harbor Tours, and today we're going back to Louisiana, delving into the swampiest, murkiest bayou I could find as far as ghost stories go. This is waist deep in a bayou of cynicism. The more I look into it, the more I delve into it, the Myrtles Plantation, the more I'm just corrupted with this deep, unending cynicism that's boiling forward from my body.
Everyone knew that whoever let the
Cynicism
overtake him would sink into the swamp.
Attack! Fight against the sadness!
Aloysius? I really feel that a ghost story should never twist history to fit the narrative. The Myrtles Plantation is one of the most famous haunted locations in the world. It has been featured in the Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, the most terrifying places in America, as well as unsolved mysteries. Countless books in my collection, from Haunted Plantations of Louisiana, Real Ghosts and Restless Spirits, Weird Louisiana, Ghostly Encounters, and so many others have all brought up this location. And they all give unreasonable claims that are debunked by historic record. I'm not talking ghosts here. I want to believe in ghosts, right? I've been slammed into a wall by a shadow. I've countered poltergeist activity. You know, I believe that this place is haunted. It's got enough death for sure. What bugs me and what really, really, really annoys me is the fact that they aren't satisfied with the ghosts they do have, and they're twisting history to fit a narrative that just isn't necessary.
St. Francisville, Louisiana. Just 30 miles from Baton Rouge, you'll find the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville. Rocking chairs on the veranda rock on their own, terrifying. But there's nothing creepier than ghost children. As the story goes, Judge Woodruff took as his mistress a young slave named Chloe.
She was caught eavesdropping on some of the family's business. As punishment, Judge Woodruff cut off her left ear.
In revenge, Chloe served the family a poisoned cake. All she wanted to do was make them ill, but instead, she killed the judge's wife and 2 of their children.
It's gluten-free and loaded with poison. There are no eggs in this cake. It's delicious. I mean, the cyanide really adds to the flavor. All right. You might be asking yourself, Aloysius, why so cynical? The fact of the matter is that mother, Sarah Wood, whatever, actually died of yellow fever. And the children also died of yellow fever. It's not a true story. Like, we have every single historic record of these people. Ancestry.com, death pages, obituaries, they all show that these people died of yellow fever, which is a brutal way to go. It is a terrible way to go. Though you might be asking, well, what's the big deal? What does this matter? All of it's true or none of it is. And once you get into the fact that, you know, we know this isn't how they died, you're telling us a story of how a slave seeking revenge, maybe, or to rekindle a broken relationship with the slaver who owns her, she poisoned women and children and then was hung. And once you tell us that, and we know it not to be true because we know on historic record that these people were killed with yellow fever over the course of several years, not all at once, then none of it's true. Other accusations or other claims that the Myrtle Plantation gives is that a voodoo priestess was called to cure the children of yellow fever because they've walked back the slave story, so they need something big. And so they've created a story, a narrative about a famous voodoo priestess who came out and failed to save the children, or the fact that, oh, this plantation is buried on Native American burial ground. Because if you're gonna drag marginalized ethnicity into it, you may as well drag all of the marginalized ethnicities into it. And look, I'm against revisionist history, no matter what part of history it revises. When I opened my company in the city of Annapolis, I had to deal with the fact that I found something in the history, in the newspapers and in all of this, that no single history company was acknowledging. A terrible event from 1909 in which a freed slave named Henry Davis was kicked around the city of Annapolis. I discovered all of the black people of the city were telling this story to each other, like to their children, as a warning, and not a single historian, white historian of the city would even touch this story. I had to deal with the fact that, to me, it's revising history if I don't acknowledge it. And so in the city of Annapolis, I have made a point of acknowledging the fact that a freed slave named Henry Davis was kicked around the city of Annapolis. Henry Davis was hung at the back of a local university. And since I started telling this story, the university has now acknowledged this. A large brass sign has gone up in the city of Annapolis dedicated to 35 people who have been lynched in Maryland. We started telling the story, and we started acknowledging the truth of history. The truth of history, to me, matters way more than the narrative, because I don't want to be a revisionist. But it goes both ways. This is a revenge fantasy at its core. Sure, there's a lot of give and take when it comes to motive with this story. But at the core of it, Chloe is essentially Broomhilda from Django Unchained. You know, the story's a lot different, right? Obviously, there's no Django, there's, none of that, but at the core of it, she really is Broomhilda taking revenge upon Leo. And there's a big difference, obviously, between Quentin Tarantino's revenge fantasy, Django Unchained, and a haunted location telling a haunted story of the antebellum era. Quentin Tarantino has worked very hard to establish himself since Inglourious Basterds as a man who's going to take atrocities of human history from Nazi Germany, Confederacy slave era, and Charlie Manson and the horrible murders that have occurred there. And he's going to rewrite that and right the wrongs of human history, which, I mean, it's a great thing. I love what Quentin Tarantino has managed to do. But when it comes to a haunted location where people are coming in and they're paying money to hear the story of a location, what they're paying to do is they're paying you to tell a historic story and to tell the truth of history.
Chloe was hung from the chandelier in the room above this one, weighted down with bricks, and tossed into the Mississippi River. Having saying all that, Matt and Joy, that's the room y'all staying in.
Now it's time for Betty Bye. Good night. Sleep tight. Hope you make it through the night.
When you're replacing the true history with something that hasn't happened, then what are you selling? What are you even selling at that point?
Fight against the sadness!
It doesn't seem that bad on the surface, right? When you're just stepping through the mud. But after a while, you start finding people who are writing about this as though she's in love with the slaver who owns her. By poisoning these kids, she's somehow gonna redeem herself from eavesdropping, and that she's gonna be able to swoop in and rescue them because she knows exactly how they're poisoned, and she can win her slaver boyfriend back. And it hurts the brain so much. It gets grosser and grosser from there. All right, so here's the thing. I didn't cover the deaths. I mean, we know the children died of yellow fever. We know the mother of the household died of yellow fever. The man who built this house had fled from Philadelphia due to the whiskey riots, which are actually a pretty cool moment in history, in which Philadelphia had created whiskey laws where only certain areas of Philadelphia could make it, and a bunch of the working class guys were like, yo, fuck that, like, we want to be able to make money off of whiskey too. All of that's really cool stuff. There's also, I mean, there was a massive flood at that location. Of course, in the newspaper articles, I didn't find any mention of Native American bodies rising out of the ground, ooh, which I'm sure if they knew they had a flood there, they would be telling that like it's the end of Poltergeist. I really am just so freaking pissed off. When you have true deaths on record, you don't need to make up others. There was a man shot. It almost looks like a hit job. A man from out of town just walks up, shoots a guy, walks off. Definitely looks like somebody hired a hit on this man. And that's speculation. But that's interesting. And yeah, they claim the Smithsonian has said they're the most haunted place in the country. The Smithsonian actually did call me back. I haven't gotten the full official conversation with somebody who knows about the Myrtles Plantation, because certain areas of the Smithsonian have actually done plantation buildings and they have covered the Myrtles. I didn't get that conversation. But what the Smithsonian did say is that people, when trying to gain credibility that they don't have, will often point to their institution as having backed them up. So that's the response I got for whether or not the Smithsonian is declared it the most haunted location in the world. The voodoo stuff, obviously, whatever, who cares? I'm done. I'm done with this place. I don't ever want to cover the Myrtles Plantation again. I will say what's kind of interesting is you could watch the Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures episode, which is on Hulu. I decided not to include that. At some point, I'm going to do a full video on the fucking Ghost Adventures. Season 12, episode 4, everybody they're interviewing obviously knows the fact that the history of Chloe and the cake murders, the cake is a lie. They know it at this point, and they're constantly treading water with their statements of like, history hasn't proven, right? No. History has proven this Chloe story is fucking bullshit. To run a good company without pulling cynicism out of people, you tell the truth of history. If you tell people lies that are obviously lies, you're gonna get guys like me doing this. In the city of Annapolis in Maryland, come visit. I only tell the ones that are confirmed by history. So there's a lot of witch trials. We had a lot of witches here in Maryland. It's pretty freaking cool. And people are genuinely afraid when they take my tour. And it's not bullshit. So I only tell the truth. Chloe's an innocent woman. Whoever Chloe is based off of is an innocent woman. There is not a poisoned cake. The cake is a lie. Stop spreading lies. That's my opinion. I'm done with the Myrtles Plantation. If you click over here, you can find videos. This is what the Google algorithm recommends, and this is the most recent video that's been posted on my channel. And so with that, guys, hey, thanks. Have a great one.